Welcome to Rwanda, in hilly and temperate East Central Africa. You don't have to go too far to meet friendly people and smiling children here. And by the looks of them, they could be the kids right down your street. But these kids were born just after the darkest period in Rwanda's history, and many of them are still reeling from its effect. The genocide of 1994 left some 800,000 Rwandans dead at the hands of their fellow countrymen. Memorials like this one stand virtually undisturbed. It was a church sanctuary till the rebels broke through. Now, bits and pieces of the past are still in view to visitors as graphic and ghostly reminders of what happens when evil rules the day. But it wasn't just one dark period of history that came and went, for evil has far-reaching consequences, and those consequences are felt even today by those who are most defenseless, children left homeless, orphans of the genocide. But among the survivors was Rose Gakwandi, who with her own children huddled in this house for 3 months, lights out, while the slaughter raged just on the other side of the wall. When the dust had cleared, she prayed that God would show her how she could work for Him.
God answered me in this way because I was grown up, but I lost my parents during the genocide, and I was feeling like orphan, even though I was grown up. Then I started to feel, if I'm feeling this way, and I'm grown up, and I'm a mother, how those little children who are orphaned are feeling. It is in that way that I start feeling that God is calling me to support children, especially orphans.
So she started with 40 orphans in Kigali and now has a hand in the care and support of more than 2,000 in 3 cities. They range in age from early elementary school through high school and beyond. In the language of Rwanda, they are Mwana Ukundwa, and that's the name of Rose's organization, Beloved Children. And each beloved child has a story. There's 14-year-old Uwatanzi who lives in a home with no parents. They're both dead. The oldest child in the family looks for work while Rose pays the rent, some food, and school fees for 3 kids. 14-year-old Sarame's parents died of AIDS, leaving 6 kids behind. The children are scattered but still see each other. Rose helps with the rent and food and pays school fees. There's 11-year-old Mukundi Asenga, whose parents died in the genocide. She lives with a surviving grandmother and aunt, while Rose pays for school fees and materials. 13-year-old Misigaro was rescued from the streets as an 8-year-old, and after 5 years with Rose, wants to one day help other children in the same situation. Some of the kids in Rose's care are HIV positive, and because of the trauma already in their lives, haven't yet been told. There are success stories like Claire, who along with her brother survived the genocide as a teenager, but just barely. Her leg and neck bear the scars from the machete to prove it. Now she works for Rose, who calls Claire a miracle. But it's not just orphans to whom Rose ministers. These are parents in the neighboring province of Butare who dig for cassava root for food and to make enough money to send their children to school. Rose got the field for them for $10 a year and helps with school fees for many of their children in the elementary school. They are children so poor that lunch, for many of them, is the only meal of the day. Rose and her organization have also provided a place and an opportunity for HIV-infected women to work with their hands, making and selling crafts to raise money for their own children. Meanwhile, in another part of the building, young people are getting vocational training for the day when they're raising responsible families of their own. And responsibility, along with trust in God, is a key component of Mwana Ukundwa's ministry. And the ministry's reach is everywhere. This is the home of Nadine. She lives with her parents. She was raped, had a child, got AIDS, and is now confined to a wheelchair provided by Mwana Ukundwa. They also help Nadine's parents with medical bills and social support. Down the road, a grandmother is raising 3 children, 2 of whom are HIV positive. All three little girls share this tiny room. Rose and her organization have provided help in the form of local accountability and support groups and, of course, much-needed food. Through a translator, she spoke of an even greater blessing from working with Rose.
Since she has been working with Mwana Ukundwa, it makes her growing spiritual, which is very important because that helps her to face her emotional other problem, because she can pray or she can ask God to help. So it makes her feeling happy.
You can't walk 10 feet in Rwanda without seeing another need, and Rose simply doesn't have the funds to meet all of them. This is the street in Kigali dubbed Sodom, a street where merchants come to town selling goods and sleeping with the local women. AIDS runs rampant. Poverty and hunger is the norm, but Rose fights the good fight on many levels. She's established a personal relationship with a Muslim woman, HIV positive, who's prayed often with some Christian women. She says that slowly, Jesus is working his way into her heart. It's for those and hundreds of others that Rose does what she can to find funding, and all funds are put to use as the donors desire. The office space in Kigali was acquired by an organization in England. A basketball court was built with funds from a group in Norway. A California ministry supplied funds for a fence, and a Dutch group paid for the foundation of a conference center. The Rwandan government gave Mwana Ukundwa the land with the understanding that Rose makes significant progress developing it, or they would take it back. But in April of 2006, the government, despite taking back lands around Rose's, saw what had been built so far and allowed Mwana Ukundwa to keep their land, based on the benefit to the community. Still, significant progress must continue so that Rose can keep the property and help the children of Rwanda. Overcrowding has made the conference center a top priority. Rose has raised $22,000 so far, but still needs another $78,000 to complete it. The orphanage will cost $50,000. But with or without the buildings, the need is never-ending. To fund a primary school student for a year takes $80. That covers fees, a uniform, school materials, and insurance. Funding a secondary school student requires $250 a year. Vocational training costs $150 a year for each of the 60 students. Mwana Ukundwa's administrative costs are $200 a month or $2,400 a year. If donors want to direct their dollars to finish the buildings, or provide clothing, or school supplies, or rent or food, that's where Rose will direct it. The Bible says that the poor will always be with us, and nowhere does that seem to be more evident to Western eyes than in third world countries. And though we've become somewhat jaded to African poverty, there are still sights that break the heart. Like a family of children raising themselves in the absence of parents who are victims of AIDS. Yet even here, there's a flicker of hope and faith.
When I see the problem of children, how there are many and I can't help them enough, that discourages me. And sometimes I feel really, really discouraged seeing that I am doing a little thing for them, while they have many problems and big problems that I can be able to handle. At that time, I feel discouraged. But in that time also, I feel I have to go to God and pray and ask Him new strength, because this is not my work, it's God's work.